Hey, this is Therese Skelly, the Intuitive Business Mentor, and today I'm going to do part two on how to sell your services. So you want to check out in the comments below, there's another video where I said, here's how to set up a discovery call. So this is for basically people that are service-based, like coaches, healers, consultants, people that want to buy your services. Now, I know the big trend. Lots of people say, oh, no, you can just sell through DMs. Okay, of course you can. I, I like to vet people. I'm super relational. And what I do for my programs is click here to apply to have, to be in the program, or click here to have a conversation. And so I created years ago because I really sucked at selling. I was terrible at it. Like, I'm so bad. And so along the way, it's like when you struggle with something, it's very often like, I don't want to keep struggling. And then I want to teach you how to not keep struggling. So I'll just give you a little bit of my story. I was a psychotherapist, did 20 years in that, and then jumped into life coaching in 2001. And a couple of years after that, I became a business coach. Now, I had zero experience ever selling, ever being in business, right? And so, thank God, I ended up in a fantastic coaching company, and they just gave me the best training. I mean, I was trained with some of the greats in the industry. And what it was like a 10-page script, right? Like, okay, if they say this objection, then you go here. If they don't want to go there, then you go here. And it was like, it was just like, okay, I'm really smart. I can read, but right. And I think when I was a brand new coach, it probably took me like 60 free calls to finally have somebody go, okay, sure. And I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Okay, like really. So I understand what it feels like to have to sell you. Now, for most women, that is, oh my, so difficult, so difficult. So let's talk about that. So here's what happened. What I discovered along the way when I was bumping into my stuff, my mindset blocks, or my like, I don't know what to do here. I don't have a strategy. I don't know what order to say things in. I just put it into a formula, and I've been teaching it for probably 15 years. And the name has changed along the way. My current iteration is called Fearless and Soulful Sales, because I want your sales to feel soulful. And I want you to be so confident in how to do it. You are fearless. All right. Okay. So the first video talks about how to set up the call, talks about how to get in rapport, what to say, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to reference that. Make sure you go find that first. I mean, watch this one, but then go to that one. Okay, I'm going to give you my 5-step formula. Step number 1, own your value. Now, let me tell you the reason that's the very first step, because here's the thing. This is what I say. This is the gate where money is either brought in or lost. That's the door. If you don't own your value, if you don't understand what it is that you're bringing, it's really hard to sell yourself. Trust me, I've tried. So here's some ways to own your value. Now, sometimes people are brand new in their profession or the industry. That's harder because you don't have 5,000 hours. You haven't worked with 30 clients. You can't say, oh, I have all these testimonials. But what you can do is you can borrow your credibility from other industries. So, for example, one of my clients, she was a new coach, but she had been a political fundraiser. She was like a really big player. You would know the names of the people she was doing fundraising for. She was very big in the party and in the people she was working with. And so she came in and she was like, oh, I just want to charge like $75 a session. And I'm like, are you forgetting what you've done? Are you forgetting? And I like, you got that person to governor and you worked on this presidential campaign, and like, dude, like, you're forgetting that, yeah, it's maybe different. You're in a different profession, but the you that created all that success is still there. So it was really cool. She's like, okay. And she came back and she had sold like a $1,500 product, right? I was really proud of her. And so that's how you do it. You say, okay, so if you're newer, and even if you're not newer, even if you've been doing this a while and you're struggling, one of the things you do is just go, where am I a badass? Like when have I had success? What have I done? Like you really need to get in your mind, like, oh, yeah, I did that. And I'm not saying I have a degree. I don't mean that because lots of people have degrees and it doesn't translate to mastery, right? I mean, I had a master's degree in counseling and didn't translate to any mastery, in the beginning of my counseling practice or in my coaching practice. So don't you say I had a degree. I want life experience. Where have you had success? What have you done? And sometimes it's what's your trajectory, because like oftentimes we are our clients, right? And so let's just say you're a health coach and you've successfully kept off 50 pounds. And now you teach women how to do that. Well, you successfully kept off 50 pounds, right? So sometimes I think we don't look at what we have achieved, our resilience, our expertise, our processes. We just like, it's no big deal. It's a big deal. Okay. So that's the first one. Where else have you done some pretty cool things in the industry or not in the industry? There's two more places. The first one is if somebody works with you, I really need you, grab a pen, write down 30 things they are going to get if they work with me, 30 things. Okay. And don't just go, well, they'll be happier. Okay. They'll be happier and like really expand. So remember I told you that after about 50 free calls, I actually sold somebody. So that woman was named Diane. And this was, I'm like back in 2005. We're talking 20 years ago, right? And so I had actually a little bit later because I worked with her for 3 years, but the first probably 6 months or a year, but the first year probably I set her business because she had zero business. She had been ripped from a corporate job and she's like, I don't know, I have no idea. So she literally came to me going, I want something, but I have no idea what the thing is. That's where we started. Okay. Actually, so after working with her for 3 years, I said, Diane, what did I do? Like, just as a result of working with me. Now, this is a hint. Ask your clients this. As a result of working with me, what have you gotten? And I'm thinking, well, I helped set up her business situation. I helped, sorry, I don't have a hair. I helped create a newsletter. I created her marketing with her. I helped hire. I helped, I'm like, all the things you do to set up a business and get started. And I'm thinking the tangible stuff. I did all those things for her. And she said, as a result of working with you, I'm 3 years ahead of any business that would have started on the same day. Maybe she said 5 years. She said, I'm 5 years ahead. And I'm like, I had no idea. So you bet I raised my rates. You bet I'm like, darn, look at that. Like 5 years ahead. Like she could concretize that somehow. And I was like, okay. Ask. Okay, so write down as many of those as you can. And here's the second one. What do they get if they don't work with you? Or what will happen if they don't work with you? Okay, I'll give you another story. I was in a selling call, and this was just an intuitive question. Like I didn't have a formula for this. I just intuitively, the woman wasn't making her sales, or she wasn't getting what she wanted to do. And I said, let's call her Sally. So Sally, what do you think the cost to you has been over the years? And I literally she had a 10 key at her desk. And somehow she came back and said, oh, I've lost $500,000 in the last 10 years. Like she could make that real. And I'm like, wow, I'm offering you, it's for $5,000. You can not lose $500,000, right? So sometimes if you ask, what is the cost? Like in your mind, like what does it cost if they don't work with you? So sometimes for me, it's like my clients, they're not going to make the money, or they're going to make investments that are going to be wrong. They're going to be hooked up with the wrong people at the wrong time. They won't be able to take advantage of it. They will lose their confidence. They're not going to be able to work with the people they're supposed to work with. Like literally say, okay, if they work with me, what will they get? If they don't work with me, if they don't get this problem fixed, what will they get? And this, oof, that starts a fire under me. Because like if somebody comes to me and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make up a number. It's $5,000. That's what I'm selling you into. In my mind, I know they can 10x that. And I know if they don't get that solution, they're going to spin around for years. They may never get things right. So I can take a stand because I really understand the value that I bring because I do those like computations in my mind. Make sense? Okay, so step number one, you have to own your value. You cannot you can't show up to a sales call like, hi, yeah, I hope do you want to maybe work with me? You know? No, 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 no. And this is not from a place of arrogance. For me, this is a place of like, I have to show you with as much strength, with as much certainty that there's hope, that I've done this before. I know exactly what I'm doing, and you are going to get there. I can tell you, you're going to get there. We're going to make it. Okay. So when you come with that conviction and own your value, what happens is the person in front of you is like, oh, oh, thank God. Thank God. Right? You're not a savior. You're not doing the guru thing whereby they're, getting to hang out with a celebrity. It's just like, look, we can get this done. I know we can. I know what I do. I know what I can provide, and let's do it. Okay, that's step one. Okay, step two. See, what happens usually is that people will call or they'll ask or they'll shoot you an email or they're talking to you at a function. They're like, oh, I've always wondered about coaching. How much does it cost? Never answer that question. Not in that format. Okay. And I might have said this before on my other video, but it's like you would never call the Ford dealer and say, what does it cost for a blue car? Because we all know that's insane. We all know there's different models. We all know there's different warranty packages and the bells and whistles. So don't get tricked into that. So sometimes people, they come into the selling call and they're anxious. And if you're anxious, you're going to make mistakes. And one of the mistakes is if somebody says, hi, I'm interested in working with you. What's the cost? So what I do is I set the situation up ahead of time, which you're going to watch in the first video. And I tell them, I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions. And then at the end, then I'll go over all the information. And that way we can figure out what the right program is. Okay. So the first thing I do is what's their desire or their dream. Step two, dig for the desire or their dream. Okay. So somebody comes to me and says, hi, Therese, I just want to really build my coaching practice. And I want to get to a $10,000 a month level. I don't say, okay, cool, thanks. Now why? They told me their desire. That was their dream, right? Not enough. And here's why. I don't know what's motivating about that. I don't know why that number matters. And some people you'll discover, some are very money motivated. Some are very meaning motivated or purpose motivated. Some don't really care about the money, but they want to have freedom. They want to have lifestyle. And so you never, ever, here's a tip. Never go on your assumption. So if somebody says, I want to grow to $10,000, I don't say, cool, here's how much that will cost you. I say, awesome. Now, dig for the dream. If you get that $10,000 a month income, what's possible? Because it might not just be the dollars. Do you understand that? So I'm just going to give you a hint here. By the time you're done with this section, I want them salivating. I want them so touched by what they want, they're almost tearing up, or they can feel it, or they can taste it. I go give you an example. This is a perfect example. In one of my groups, one of the women has a business, and she was kind of doubting her value. She started to do a new marketing strategy, and she was like, oh, as I said, hon, tell me why people need your service. And as she spoke it, she got choked up. That's what people buy for. She never said, I want to make $10,000. She's so impassioned helping small business owners that she literally, when she talks about it, she's like, oh, and I guarantee you, if you have somebody there versus just in their head going, yeah, I need some more money, that'd make my life easier. versus I've just always known I had to do this. Like, right? So when you dig for the dream or the desire, I say you be a 2-year-old and you go, and why? And why is that? And what else? And what else? Tell me more. So say I'm just going to take this. So actually, let me give you a whole story. I'll give you a real client story. I'm just going to call him Jim, not his real name. So Jim came to me, he's a coach, and said, I really need to grow my business $10,000. And I said, what would that do for you, Jim? What would you get? And this was a number of years ago. And he said, it's been really hard since the recession. Like it's been really, really tough on me and my wife. My wife handles the finances in my business and it's really hard. And she's been so stressed out. We have really, I can't even tell you, we've almost lost our house. It's been so hard. And if I had $10,000 a month, it would make her life easier. I said, okay, so what could you do with that? And he said, I'd like to, I would take her traveling. And I said, okay, where? And he said, she's always wanted to go on a cruise. I'd love to take her on a cruise. And I said, like, I get choked up. This was like 10 years ago and I still get choked up. And I said, okay, Jim, I want you to imagine this. Where would you like to go? Alaska. And he says, I say, okay, so imagine this. You're at the cruise, you're overlooking, you're seeing the glaciers, and your wife looks up to you and you're her hero. See, I'm getting choked up. When I said that to him, it was like, it hit very differently than, hey, cool, you can grow your business and get new clients and a bunch more leads. But when I got there with him, he signed up and he's worked with me like 4 times since. So that's what you want. You want the dream of theirs not to be just words. And you want to make sure, because if let's say if you have a money-driven person and I'm like, oh, that's so cool, think of the vacations, and they're like, whatever. Or if you have a freedom-driven person and you're like, awesome, you can really hack your retirement savings and you can make more investments, and they're like, you need to determine, sometimes it's income, sometimes it's impact. You have to understand what the dream is. And what I do is I let them say it, and then I reflect back. Because here's a secret I want to tell you. I think a lot of people don't even dream. When you've gone through some trauma or, COVID screwed things up a lot for everybody, or life has thrown you some situations, is kind of like, I don't know what I want. I just want to get a dad, or I don't know. I just have to, something has to change. And some people are so stuck. I know at times in my life, I couldn't dream. I just was like, well, head down. I'm a mom. I got kids. I'm divorced. I don't know. Just surviving. And so the way I frame these sessions is I want you to have breakthrough. Of course, I'd love to, have you sign up for me. But ahead of that, my commitment to these discovery calls and the selling process is that something's going to happen in this call and you're going to have breakthrough. Whether you hire me or not, I commit in my mind, and to you, you will have a breakthrough. And very often, just the process of somebody holding space and asking beautiful questions and saying, and what else would you love? And how would that feel? And how would it change your life? Just that process for some people is like a miracle. So I want to really encourage you, like these people that say, oh, I'll have a 15-minute discovery call. I'm like, okay, never me. Never me. A, I'm Irish, have the gift of gab. But B, I don't want somebody to go, oh, cool, that'd be fun. You get a vacation. Nice. I want to go. And where do you want to go? And what did you want when you were there? Like, I want to go all in. It might not be your style, but it's my style. Hold on. I'm getting all choked up talking about this. So you dig for the dream and then you give it back to them. So this is what I heard you say. And how does that sound? How does that feel? And sometimes they'll be like, just stop talking. I've literally had people say, just stop. Can I just give you my credit card? Because I'm so sold on this, right? That's so fun. Okay. Step 1, own your values. Step 2, dig for the dream. And step 3, we push the pain. And I don't mean to be like a mean girl. I don't mean to be exploitive. And there's some stuff around here. because some people are super motivated by, I've always wanted to do that. I just want that dream. More people are motivated by, I can't take this any longer. More people are motivated by that. It's like, what do I want to avoid? I don't want to be doing this another day, right? So we push for the pain. I got to start with you first. Now, remember I told you I was brand new coach at Premier Coaching, and I had like 60 calls before I sold anybody. On the form, one of the questions was, what was your annual income last year? And I was so afraid because of my own money blocks. We wonder why I wasn't selling, right? I literally removed the question because I was like, I can't ask about money. Hello? You kind of need to know their money if it's a business. But that was my stuff. That was my like, oh, I can't go there with them. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I want you to get comfortable. Now, we're not going in there slicing and dicing. Now, I have to say, I was a therapist, right? I'm very comfortable. So what I say, so let me just do the flow of it. We do the rapport setting, I do the dream part, and then I say, okay, Jim, I'll use that guy in this situation. What's in the way, or what has prevented you from getting that $10,000 a month income? And they tell me. So they might say, well, my marketing isn't good, or I don't have enough team support, or I don't know, my pricing is really off, or it's probably mindset. And then I don't say, okay, that's $5,000. I say, that sounds really hard. And I could ask a number of questions. One could be, how long has that been going on? See, here's the thing. Selling is this. They're here and they want to be here. And you are the gap. Your solutions, what you offer is going to fix that. So Jim's not making the money he wants. Jim wants to make the money. I'm the solution. But I got to paint enough of a picture where Jim's like, I can't keep doing this. So you, as a person conducting this call, need to get comfortable. Nobody needs to do anything. I would suggest, I don't want to be all guru-ish on you. I would encourage you to get really comfortable asking more probing questions. And what I say is, you know what, if you don't mind, I want to just know a little bit more about this. And trust me, there's no shame or blame here. And I'm not going to keep you in, kind of the icky stuff for a little bit of information, but it just helps me to get a better picture of it. So how long has this been going on? Number one, what do you think that's cost you? And cost for me breaks down to two things: tangible and intangible. So if Jim came in and said, I don't know how to sell, or my marketing is really screwed up, and gosh, I can't nail my messaging, I might say, how many clients a month do you think you've lost? Like, that you would get if you could have your messaging, like, and he could say, probably 3 clients a month. It's like, okay, what do you charge? $10,000. Okay. Oof, that's $30,000 a month you're losing. Times 10 is 300,000. So you're losing, see what I mean? So that's how you make it tangible. But for some people, what's more troubling is the intangible. So what's the cost, Jim, of you not bringing this money in? He could say, well, I'm losing my confidence. And the worst part is my wife is starting to doubt me, and it's creating stress in my family. Like, okay. And as a result of that, so you see how I dig it a little bit. I dig down and dig down and dig down. And you notice my energy right now? I'm slowing down. So when you're in the dream, you're like, oh, that'd be so awesome. You're going to go to Alaska. In this, you need to bring your energy down. You need to meet them, because this isn't fun. You want to be in rapport. You want to say, wow, I'm just honored that you shared that with me. I understand. I've been in that same place, if that's true for you. And you go slow. Because here's what happens, because I've taught so many people the selling formula. And right here, people are like, oh, okay, you lost alignment. Okay, well, can I show you how I can help you? It's often the anxiety on part of the coach that is like, ah! And I'm like, shh, go slow and allow for some silence. Because here's what we need. We need Jim to have a moment. Oh, there's the dog in the background. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. I apologize. We need Jim or Jill or Susie or Mary to have that moment of like, oh, it's kind of like a life-changing thing. Like, and I'll tell you kind of a funny story. So I was on a coaching retreat with somebody, and she she was asking me like, what do you want to, because I was like, I think I should work with you, but I don't have the money. It's like $15,000. I'm already paying another coach. I'm just coming off a bankruptcy. And I was going around with her. It was like midnight. We're, like in the kitchen. She's making potatoes. It's kind of got etched in my head that she's cooking potatoes as I'm trying to have a selling conversation with her. I'm freaking out. I'm literally freaking out because I don't have the money. I don't know where I'm going to get the money. But I knew I had to work with her. And I was in my head spinning around. And she said, Therese, you teach sales. I go, yeah. She goes, what would you say right now if you were the client? What would you say? And I would say, imagine 6 months goes by and nothing's changed. What are you going to be like then? And when I said that to myself, I was like, let me get you a credit card. I have to sign up. And so that's one question. Imagine 6 months goes by, nothing changes. What are you going to tell yourself? What's going to be your situation? Okay, so we have the desire and then we have the pain. And by now they're like, and again, this is not gratuitous. Nobody relishes being, nobody's trying to make somebody worse, but we need to get them. Like I had to go literally when I asked myself that question from the coach, I was literally like, I can't keep doing this. So then I say, step 3, own your value, dream, desire, pain. Okay. Step 4, actually. Now you make the offer. So after Jim says, I can't keep doing this any longer, I say, okay, how about if I tell you how we can work together? Now, I do want to say this. Step 1, internal, right? You own your value. Steps 2 and 3, it's just asking questions. It takes some finesse. You got to be present. You got to know how to, hold the space. Step 4 is when you're selling now. Woo! I know me. I used to be like, oh, I would literally shrink. I would get very small and very apologetic back in the old days before I learned all this. So, what do I have to believe about myself now? So, step 4, when I'm going to be making my offer, I don't just go, okay, that'll be 6 months. It's $5,000. We meet twice a month on Zoom. I'll get you recordings and give me a credit card. I don't do that. What I do, that's what anxious Therese and anxious coaches usually do. What I do is what I call sell in chunks. So the offer, obviously, we have the features and the benefits. You have the deal. I'm just using the number $5,000, 6 months. So that's kind of basically the offer. But here's how I sell in chunks. You take what they desire, because you should write this stuff down, right? And you take the pain a little bit, but more so the desire. And what I believe is how I roll. When somebody works with me, they buy my mastery, but they really buy a container of support. They buy a partner, right? So let me show you how I do that. So I say, I'm just going to call it Amy now. So Amy, oh, thank you so much. I've loved our conversation. And is it okay if I share with you how I can work with you and what's possible? And you also always ask that, is it okay if I share with you? So that's a transition now. It's permission based. Now they're asking me to tell them. So I say, remember how you said earlier that you often didn't really know what to work on? Amy says, yeah. I said, imagine you're really focused because we have everything dialed in. So there is no more looking at a blank email screen going, I don't know what to say today. What would that be like? And he was like, oh gosh, that's awesome. And I said, do you remember how you said like you just feel kind of alone? And There's nobody on your team necessarily that gets you, and your family doesn't believe in you, and it's just kind of chaotic. Imagine that all you have to do is pick up the phone and text me or message me and say, remind me again why I'm doing this. I'm right there. What would it be like to know somebody has your back like that? And they're like, oh, that's so good. Like, okay. And imagine, boom, boom, boom. So in essence, I sell sort of the feeling, the energetic of what it's like to work with me. And then I'm going to add in, imagine you're starting to get some new clients because your messaging is really clear. How's that sound? Oh, I would love that. Okay. And then think about marketing, because we're going to really change your visibility stuff. You're going to be a lot more bold, girly. How would that be when you no longer have to feel like a fraud or are afraid of saying something? Imagine right now, really, imagine right now, you just go online and you just speak from your soul. What would that be like? Now, they're salivating by now because I'm listening for what they really want. Of course, $10,000 a month or whatever they desire, that's the end, but what they want is the support. And I'm like, okay, does that sound like something you're interested in? Yeah. Then I say, awesome. That'll be $5,000. How does that sound? And then I'd be quiet. I would sink in a little bit. I don't go, that's $5,000. But if you can't pay, like we could do 3 payments or 5 payments, or we could spread that over 6 months or maybe 12 months if you really need to. Here's the secret. Too many details right now is not needed. You just need a, yes, I'm interested, or no, I'm not. So I sell in the chunks, and I'm selling the support. And did you notice I also sold, we'll get your messaging done. We'll work on your visibility. You'll get the client. Like, I sold those deliverables. And then I say, okay, that's $5,000. And most people are like, either that sounds great. How? Or, that's a little bit more than I can afford right now. Okay. So your offer, I want you to break it down and not just vomit facts. And I will tell you this, some people love detail. Some people are like, is there something I could see? Do you have that? And some people are just like, oh, that sounds perfect. I don't even know exactly what it is, but yeah, sure. Right. So you kind of need to ascertain, like, what are they? And you could say it'll be $5,000. If you're interested, we could talk about more details or how to get started. What would you like? Don't be afraid to ask. Just ask them what they need, right? Okay. So the final step. So we have, you own your value, right? And then you dig for their dream and the desire. And then number 3, you push on the pain and you understand what the consequences have been and the cost to them financially and emotionally and energetically. Then you roll out your offer. And you do it in beautiful selling. And I guarantee you, like, this stuff is so powerful. I've tested it. It's fantastic. So you sell in the chunks, and then you give them the money part of it. So they might say, cool, how do I get started? Boom, you go there. Because step 5 is you handle objections. Now, I've had great selling training, I guarantee you. One of the men I trained with was a man named Blair Singer, who's fantastic. And he talked about, think about how hard it is to object. Like, think like in school, we were like, we have to raise our hand and we want to get the answer right. That still lives in us tremendously. We don't want to disappoint. We usually, and again, I say you have to train people to be a client. They don't know how to do this. Some do. I mean, if you've been around the coaching world, you've had probably 5 coaches by now, or you've been sold to a lot. Most people don't know how to do that. So if you reference video number 1, the how to do a discovery call, what I say is, do me a favor. If at any point you decide it's not for you, can we just agree that either one of us can say, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. And then they just kind of go, right. So that sets it up. They don't have to give me the, well, I have to think about it, So when you think about an objection, instead of handling it like, so flippin' annoying, I want you to handle it like, wow, They're in with me. They're being real with me. So I was taught, Blair Singer said, anything they say, agree with. So if they say, wow, that sounds like a lot of money, you don't go, well, it's actually not. I'm more so. You say, I know, it kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. And isn't it is a lot of money. So what that does is you honor them, you don't fight them, because this is hard. It's hard because they've been following you a while. They want to work with you. And maybe money is it's just a thing, right? And it's really hard to say, oh, I don't know, that's kind of like a lot of money. And you just go, you're right. I hear you. Sort of is. So I'm just going to play with some objections now. But here's what I want to frame. In the olden days, I've heard the terms like stealth selling, guerrilla selling. It was very like conquer them. It was like even my 10 page script with all the highlights on it, it was like trap them and their objections, catch them. And I hate that. That's why this is called the soulful sales formula. Not on my watch. We did not do that. So the way I look at it, let me see. Hold on 1 second. I'll just use my little sticky pad here. In the olden days, it was I'm here and they're here. It was me against them, right? And I was gonna, not me, but the old sales trainers, I was gonna catch them in objections. And then I was gonna do some NLP, like, fancy words. And they would be like, okay, here's my credit card. Then they hang up the next day and like, shit, what did I just do? Here's how I do it. So I'm over here and my prospect is over here. And in the middle, there's an objection on the table. It's not me versus them or them versus me. I say, come over here. So now it's the two of us and the objections over here. It's like, come here. Okay. Okay. So I hear you have some concerns about money, and I get it. This is a big investment. So is it okay if we maybe here, let me back up. In my mind, I'm still coaching them. I'm not like, shit, they're objecting. Probably lost it. I used to do that. So I know that one. I need to be still very present. And I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. So a woman was she'd booked a VIP. She was booking a VIP day with me. I think she was in California and she was going to come out. I don't know, she's going to spend $5,000 for the day. And so we literally were in the calendar. We were booking the dates. She was checking the airfare literally during our, I had the selling call and now we're doing it. And all of a sudden she goes, I don't know. I'm not sure now. Now the old me would have said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, well, if you ever want to do it, just come back. And if I'm here, good luck. And something shifted that day. And I don't know what, well, it was God. There wasn't a conscious thought. And so I said, hold on a second. What just happened? So this is me taking a stand for her, right? So when you have objections, if you can take a stand without being pushy or salesy, but just like, hey, I want you to get a great result. So what just happened? Because everything was set. And she said, this is a pattern. I give up on myself. And I said, okay, I'd love to see you have a breakthrough. So what needs to happen? And she said, I need to give you my credit card. Now, was that pushy or salesy? Not at all. Did I take a stand for her? Absolutely. So I think what happens when people get objections, at least for me, I would back off because I didn't want to engage in the dialogue. I didn't know how, right? Without being icky and, like gorilla-ish and sleazy and pushy. Couldn't figure out a way. Until then I just remembered, well, I just be more of me. I was coaching my ass off the last, 20 minutes, and I'm just going to stay in my coaching mode, strong and fierce for them and wanting them to have everything they want. I can't go, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I need to be like, well, hold on. What would it take for you to get your dream? Now, I will say sometimes it's just legit. They don't have the money. I have been there many times. It's like, there's nothing I can do. So in that case, I just like So there's a couple of things. If it's like, I don't have the money, it's like, okay, is that a no for now, or just is it a no for never, or a no for just now? Like, do you envision maybe in the next 3 months or 6 months that things are going to shift? Yes or no? And if it's yeah, okay, how about we just grab something and I'll reach out in a few months. Okay. If they say, here's another objection. Oh, I need to talk to my husband or my partner about it. Remember what Blair Singer said? You always agree. Because I always put myself in the place of like, imagine you're a woman, we're all empowered, and it's like, oh, I have to go ask my husband. That could be like, in the feminist world. And one of the things that the coaching industry does that I hate, I disagree with, please don't do this, is they say, well, give me your credit card now. And I'm like, no, 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 no. So here's what I say. If I say, I think that's really cool. I really like that you have agreements and you're honoring your agreements with your partner. I think that's so important. So what did I just do? I validated her. I took her side. I made her nervous system go, oh, good. I don't have to fight on this. She's not going to shame me. Oh, good. And then I say, what kind of a question do you think your husband would have? Or what do you think your husband's objections would be? Because in essence, I need to turn her into a salesperson now because she sold. And when I've asked this has been really good. And very often they'll say, the husbands or partners have said, how is this going to be different? You've already spent money on 4 coaches, or you just, how is this coach different? And I go, I totally get it. He's right. That makes great sense. So let me tell you how I'm different. I've also said, if you want, I'm happy you could just have your husband come to the call. You and I can meet your husband. He can ask me all the questions. Actually, that doesn't happen often. I do remember having one, and he asked great questions. And she's worked with me off and on for years and years and years, and she's referred like 5 people to me. But I was gracious enough to say, bring your husband on. Let me put his mind at ease. Right. So those are some of the objections. Another one is if it's like time or money or somebody else. So like if somebody says, I don't know if I have the money, and then it's called isolating objection. Okay. If it wasn't for the money, let's put that aside. Would you be interested? Would you want to do it? Now, why do I do that? I need to know what the objection is. And I need to know if they're just bluffing me, like, oh, don't have the time, gotta go. And if no, I rarely have ever had somebody say, actually, once I had one person say, no, I don't think I want to do this with you. I'm like, cool, okay, thank you. They weren't vibing with me. Usually I say, if it wasn't for the time or the whatever it was, would you like to do it? They'll say yes. And sometimes I will take the hit. Sometimes I'll say, I'm just wondering if did I do a good job explaining everything? Because maybe I didn't show you fully the value. Maybe I didn't show you. Is if you have any questions, because sometimes they'll say, I need to think about it, right? I need to think about it. And you don't go, okay, call me. Here's what I say. Okay, so you want to think about it. What specifically are you thinking about? And they're like, because then I'll say that maybe I missed something, or perhaps I didn't give you all the information. So what is it that you need? And usually I hear people say, well, it's nothing. No, 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 you gave me enough. But people say this a lot. I make a commitment to myself to sit for 24 hours on a big decision, or I need a few days. I need to check my calendar, or I need to sit down with my husband. And I go, okay, 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 okay. And here's a really important thing. I say, how long do you think you're going to need? Now, most people are not going to say 4 weeks. If they do, that's an excuse. They don't want your coaching or your service. So what I say is, awesome. So today's Thursday. I'm wondering, by Monday, do you think you will have, processed what you need and come to your conclusion? Yes? Okay. So this is what I'm going to ask. By Monday, will you send an email? And you can say, yes, I'm in, or no, I'm not in. I just want to make sure that we have closed the loop here. Because, like, remember in the old dating days when you have a date and at the end of the night, you're like, are they going to call me? Am I supposed to call them? I don't like that in my dating life when I used to date. So I'm not doing it in my business. And so it's just any answer you say is fine. I just don't want that weird, like, where we don't know what's next and who's supposed to call next. So would that be okay? I've never had anybody say no to that. And so my frame around this is bless them and release them. So they can't do your, let's say, $5,000 program. Is there something else they could do? Is there a downsell? Now you shouldn't say, okay, you'll get the same thing. I'll just give that to you for half. I don't like devaluing yourself, but what you could do is say, okay, what were you thinking? What was your budget? And they'd say, oh, I only have 3,000. You say, okay, well, instead of seeing you 3 times a month, maybe I'll see you X amount of times. Would that be something that would be workable? Right. So you can negotiate on the time. You can negotiate on, like, sometimes I've said, okay, it's a 6-month program. How about if you make 9 months of payments? Then we can get it lowered. So it's still the same dollar amount, but I lower the payments. I've never been burned. And people are like, oh, that would be so much easier. Thank you so much. So the theme of the objection is agree with them, honor them, validate where they are, and continue to take a stand for them. Got it? Okay, so I hope this has been helpful. Here's what I would love. If you have any questions, because I know this is a lot, this is kind of a long video, message me. I would love to hear it. Seriously, got a question, just go, hey, what about that? Happy to have a conversation with you. My email is down below. And if you want anything else, if you want to see about becoming a client, let me know. I would love to have a conversation with you, because you could see how I visibility, messaging, your energy ride, making more money. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's kind of my game. So reach out, peace and blessings. And thank you so much for being with me today. Bye now.